Okay. Good evening. Anyone that, especially on the internet, that has seen some of our other services, we actually have a second service. In fact, we have it twice a month on the second and fourth Sunday, and it is, I wouldn't say more traditional at all. What I would say is it's, we call it Followers of the Way. So you might get a different perspective on Christianity. And there's a picture of Mikey. He made it in the paper. I said something last week, but you weren't here, so that's Mikey right there.
Four, got his picture in the paper
For working. Oh, I forgot to bring up all my stuff. I'll be right back. Hey, Trudy. See, everybody thinks we know what we're doing. We're just kind of faking it most of the time. We've just been doing it a long time, so we're good fakers. What do you want from volunteers, huh?
Is there a religious group called a faker?
There might be now. We still do have a couple of patron saints. You know, even the evening service, we actually even start on time, within about 2 or 3 minutes. So that's pretty amazing, too. George Carlin and John Lennon. And John, when we say war is over, if you want it, we mean that if everyone demanded peace instead of another TV set, we'd have peace. Cool. And of course, George, there are nights when the wolves are silent and only the moon howls. I know, that was my thought too. I was hoping someone else would kind of grasp that meaning. It went nowhere with me. There's no present, there's only the immediate future and the recent past. I kind of like that one, actually.
Kind of goes against our live in the now kind of.
Well, but that's George. I mean, good grief, what do you want? It's George Carlin. Sheesh. He did. He did. Mind Shifters this week, Lotus Group, and of course...
You're not on my week, are you?
Yeah.
mean, those are yes.
Yeah, I am. See? Duh.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, thanks. And coming up, May 19th, will be the Surviving the Zombie Apocalypse. So stay tuned for that one.
You're welcome to cut the dress as a zombie.
You are welcome to be dressed as a zombie, yes. A year-old bear cub had a story to tell after he took a wild ride in the back of a dump truck in Vancouver, British Columbia. Alex whatever his name is, a conservation officer reports being surprised to get a call saying a bear was in downtown Vancouver. During rush hour, it had been eating garbage in a dumpster when the garbage truck came along and dumped the contents, including the bear, into the truck. The bear was peeking over the edge of the truck when a passerby noticed it and alerted the driver to stop. The cub was rescued, examined, and released to the wild.
Hope you found this zombie.
Yeah, I hope so too. You never know. You never know. More stuff about Washington. Seattle gets less rainfall than Atlanta, Boston, New York, Houston, New Orleans, Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., and Miami at only 37 inches. Of course, if you've ever lived in the South, you understand how it rains down there. Seattle drizzles most of the time. So yeah, and that's what they said. But it may rain less, but it often wins hands down on the number of cloudy days. Seattle has the highest concentration of aerospace jobs in the world, led by Boeing's 50,000 workers. And Seattle is home to the first revolving restaurant, of course, the Space Needle in 1962. I remember going up in there in 1962, and I was even amazed then because they said the whole thing revolved, it was so perfectly balanced that it revolved on a very, very small, like less than a 1 horsepower motor. It's pretty impressive. Even today, it's still doggone impressive. Things that make you go, There are many things that we would throw away if we were not afraid that others might pick them up.
Can I give you the corollary to that one?
Sure.
If you put a couch, if you put a couch out on the front and you want it to be taken away and you put free on it, nobody will take it. If you put a sign that says $10, it'll be gone by morning.
We have seen that happen. Daryl has proved that time and time again. As the crow flies, this saying, which means the shortest distance between 2 points, came about simply because a crow supposedly flies straight to its destination. In 1800, Robert Southey, an English poet, wrote in a letter, about 15 miles the crow's road. And hence as the crow flies. Thank you. And one more, and we'll get started. McDonald's restaurant, I did that one. Did that one this morning. In May 1997, 32-year-old Phoenix resident Dale Novak won the Spam carving contest with his creation of a small Spam castle, appropriately dubbed Spam-A-Lot. Wasn't that just fascinating? Yeah, you know, I don't mind Spam, and of course it's almost a delicacy in Hawaii. I mean, has everybody spent any time there? I mean, they use it for all kinds of things. I'm still quite sure that Hawaii is the top consumer of Spam in this country, probably the world. So, let's sing a song.
How's that? I have to tell you, I feel as if I've waited my whole life to be here in this moment at this time, to share some ideas and thoughts and feelings with you. I feel really fortunate that I grew up in a very conservative Christian home, and I just took to Bible school. Or it's like my little grandson, when he was little, he would say, Bible class. I'm going to go to Bible class. I remember the very first Bible class I went to, loved it, loved church, thought church was great. Not everybody does, and that's okay. But that's a come from. I just have always enjoyed the church, and I think there's just something about fellowshipping and being connected. But the disadvantage of growing up in a very conservative Christian church is that there was a lot of structure, and there was a lot of here's how it is. And that's where I first became aware of the hooey factor. Now, hooey is kind of like your bullshit-o-meter, but it's not quite the same. And I think one of the first hooeys I had, well, not the first, but a significant hooey I had was there was no such thing as ghosts till I saw one. And then that hooey got challenged. There were a whole lot of other hooeys that I had in my life, and they all got challenged. And some of the hooeys stuck. And some of the hooeys kind of went, oh, I don't hold to that anymore, because I'm hooey, not the statement that I thought was hooey is really true. And so I think that gives us permission to change our minds about stuff. We don't have to have all the answers. I don't think all the answers are out there. I think you can have your answers for you in this moment until the next hooey comes up and you realize, well, that's just hooey. And then you're hit with something that will challenge your thinking. I think William said one time that Spirit is not here to give us the answers, but to challenge our answers. Not to answer your questions, but to challenge your answers. And you know, a lot of people need religion because it's this nice, neat little box wrapped in paper with a bow on it. And my job is not to give you a box and say, here's what your faith is supposed to look like. My job is to open the ribbon, shred off the paper, open the box, and take a look at it. And if it still holds true for you, awesome. If it doesn't, you get to look at that. Because here's the deal, your faith will uplift you. And the truth or a new idea cannot hurt your faith. It can either support it, or it can challenge it, or it can dismiss it. And either way, you're still a winner. Because either you have a new faith, a higher faith, a different faith, a stronger faith, or the faith that you have is supported and uplifted. So it's a win-win-win-win. So it's okay to challenge what we think and what we believe. And my job is to challenge. My job is to say, well, let's take a look at this. So that's the hooey factor. And I think there's a real power in that. Because as soon as we have a hooey, there's that it's not okay with me feeling. One of the first ones I had was when I was a little kid and was reading about, well, one of the first things you learn is in Bible class is creation. And then I heard the minister at the front of the room said, 7 24-hour days. And my hooey factor went off. That's hooey. So I talked to my mom about it. And she said, bless her soul, I just love that woman. She was awesome. She said that to God, 1,000 days, or to God, a day is like 1,000 years. Let's look at that verse, shall we? I'd like you to turn in your Bibles to Ecclesiastes, chapter 3, verse 11. Oh, no, this is the wrong one. I'm sorry. Well, I want you to see this one too. We'll just read this one while we're here. Can we? Why not? Ecclesiastes 3, chapter 11. He's talking about time. He has made everything appropriate in its time. He has also set eternity in their hearts, so that man will not find out the work which God has done from the beginning even to the end. Haven't found Ecclesiastes yet? Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes. You should have a little tab in there for Proverbs or Psalms. It's after Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 11. Have you got it now? You want to read it, Tracy?
Where are we at?
Chapter 3, verse 11.
Oh, I thought you just did read it.
I did, but since everybody was searching, it's...
He has made everything appropriate in its time. He has also set eternity in their heart, yet so that man will not find out the work which God has done from the beginning even to the end.
Okay, so there is eternity in your heart. I think we had a guest speaker this morning, Christopher, and he was talking about the fact that we all have a sense of our eternal nature. We have that sense of eternity. But what I wanted you to know is in the New Testament, actually it's in Psalms too. So let's do Psalms, right close to Psalms. Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes. So go back to Psalms. We're going to go to Psalms 90. And verse 4. You want to read that?
For 1,000 years in your sight are like yesterday when it passes by, or as a watch in the night.
Now that has a corollary or a supporting verse in the New Testament. So we're going to go to 2 Peter. Now you should have a tab there for Hebrews. I think it's a big tab for Hebrews. And then right after Hebrews is 1st and 2 Peter. You're going to go to 2 Peter, chapter 3, verse 8.
184 in this one.
184 in the big print.
No, the little print.
The little print. 184 in the little print. 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 8. who would like to read that one? Go ahead, Dan.
Do not let this fact escape you, beloved, that to the Lord a day is like 1,000 years, 1,000 years.
Exactly. So who cares? Why? Well, here's what I want you to know. Because there are people who say, here's your hooey factor, that the creation has to be a 24-hour day. And here's why I say hooey. Let's go to Genesis, the first chapter. It's the very first book, very first chapter, very first page. I'm sure you're all familiar with the creation story. This happened on the first day, that happened on the second day, that happened on the third day. Okay, here's what I want you to, a couple things I want you to know. Okay, there's more than a couple. We could talk about this for months. I love this stuff. So I apologize if I get a little too excited. In verse 5, in verse 4 and 5, God saw, and he said, verse 3, God said, let there be light, and there was light. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. There was evening and morning one day. Now, go down to verse 16. Somebody read verse 16. You got it, Val?
God made the two great lights, the greater light to govern the day, and the lesser light to govern the night. He made the stars also.
Go ahead and read 17, 18, and 19.
God placed them in the expanse of the heavens to give light on the earth, and to govern the day and the night, and to separate the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. There was evening, and there was morning, the fourth day.
So the sun in the sky was created on the fourth day. Yet there was a morning and a day in verse 5. The separation of the light and the darkness. Oh my gosh, your brains are just going wacko, aren't they? And we all already read that the sense of eternity has been gifted to us. We have that. We know that we're beyond this physical being. So in the beginning, when the beginning started, when the calculation of time began, is when the things came into being that were linear, that we could follow. And in that time frame, light started first. And then the day came, the 24-hour day came. So what if we're all right? What if the people who believe in the 24-hour day are right, and the people who believe in the evolutionary factor are right? What if they're all right? How cool is that? You can have whatever fits for you. And I don't think either one will lessen your faith. And neither one diminishes the power of God. Knowing that God's hand is in whatever, even if it took an eon of time for the expanse of the waters to be separated from the waters, an evening and a morning, a second day. When he created the heaven, let's just read this stuff, shall we? Let's just read this stuff. Let me kind of set you up here. In the beginning. So there was something that happened before the beginning. There was something that existed before the beginning, and that's God. Whatever that is for you, higher power, ultimate source, divine spirit, whatever that is for you. I don't care what you believe. I just care that you believe. That you got something greater than yourself that can help and assist you in your life if you ask. That's the big thing. Verse 2, and the earth was formless and void, and darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was moving over the surface of the waters. And then God said, let there be light, and there was light. And God saw the light was good, and God separated the light from the darkness. He called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening, and there was morning one day. And that was before the sun was created. Now, I want you to hold your space and go back into the New Testament. We're going to go to Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. Not 1st, 2nd, 3rd John, but Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. First chapter, 14th verse. You want to borrow her glasses?
No.
You going to pass? Who's got it? Gospel according to John, 1st chapter, verse 14. Yes, ma'am.
And the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we saw his glory, and we saw his glory as of the only begotten from his Father, full of grace and truth.
Full of grace and truth. The Word became flesh. So here, back in the beginning, go back to Genesis. Back in the beginning, you had God, and you had the Spirit of God moving over the surface of the waters, and you had God speaking and saying the Word, the intent, expressing the intent. So it's like all three were present in this creation moment, or this creation eon, whatever fits for you. I'm not going to limit you in your belief system. Whatever feels right to you is way okay with me. And I think we get to have harmony with whatever our belief system is here. So God, the Father energy, is this expression, is the intent, is the creative, mental, mind, awareness that said, hey, I've got this idea. Let's do this. And the expression, the Word, is the Jesus, the Christ, the expression of that. And then the Spirit moves, makes it happen. So all three play a role. They're all divine. They're all supreme beings. And they all have a role in creation. They all have a role in your life. So I'm going to give you a quick rundown on the creation story, and then I'm going to lead you on a guided meditation. And the reason I want to do this for you is that each of the steps of creation can relate to something experiential in your life now and give you insights into what is important for you, steps that are important for you to do. And let's go to, I wanted you to go to verse 27. We're going to get back here in a minute. 26. Verse 26 and 27. Who would like to read that? All right, Susan.
Then God said, "Let us make man in our own image, according to our own likeness, and let them rule over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the sky, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth." God created man in his own image. In the image of God he created him, male and female he created them.
All right, and goes on to say he blessed them and all that. But here's the deal. If we're created in the image of God, does that mean God has eyes and arms and legs and facial hair? What about us is eternal? What about us is eternal? The part of us that knows beauty. The part of us that's creative. The part of us that has self-authority, self-will. Not, I'm going to do it my way, not your way, but the ability to govern ourselves. I think I'm going to get up. I think I'm going to feed myself. I think I'm going to get dressed today. That self-authority of being responsible for one's own self. The part of us that can appreciate, be grateful. The part of us that can love. That's the part of us that is divine in nature. That's the part of us that's eternal. So it doesn't matter. Some people get all spun up on whether God was black or he was white, or, that's not the part of us that's eternal. Let's not lose sight of that. And let's hold to the truth of that we are created in the image of God, and that which is reproduced within us is this divine nature of love and creativity, appreciation, and joy, gratitude. So let's look at the creation story itself. So we have light and day, light and dark on the first day. Okay? On the second day, someone read verse 6, 7, and 8. Who would be willing to do that? Audra?
Then God said, "Let there be an expanse in the midst of the waters, and let it separate the waters from the waters." God made the expanse and separated the waters which were below the expanse from the waters which were above the expanse, and it was so. God called the expanse heaven, and there was evening and there was morning, a second day.
Okay, so let's look at that. Clouds, rain, that's the water that's in the expanse up here. And the expanse is where we walk around and we breathe. And then the waters that were below the expanse are waters in the oceans and the riverbed. Make sense? Okay, so that's what happened on the second day. Someone read 9 through 13. Who would do that? Want to pass the microphone across the hall? Thank you.
Then God said, "Let the waters below the heavens be gathered into one place, and let the dry land appear." And it was so. God called the dry land earth.
Well, it is dirty. I love it.
And the gathering of the waters he called seas. And God saw that it was good. Then God said, "Let the earth sprout vegetation, plants yielding seed, and fruit trees on the earth bearing fruit after their kind with seed in them." And it was so. The earth brought forth vegetation, plants yielding seed after their kind, and trees bearing fruit with seed in them after their kind, and God saw that it was good. There was evening, and there was morning, a third day.
Okay, so two things happened on this day. He gathered all the water into one place so that there became dry land. Up until this point, it was just one big swamp, or one big murky place. So he put all the water in one place, and then on the dry land, vegetation grew. So how cool is that? Verses 14, and I think we already read this. 14 through 19. Somebody want to read that real quick? William, you want to get that?
Then God said, "Let there be lights in the expanse of the heavens to separate the day from the night, and let them be for signs, and for seasons, and for days and years. And let them be for lights in the expanse of the heavens to give light on the earth." And it was so. God made the two great lights, the greater light to govern the day, and the lesser light to govern the night. He made the stars also. He placed them in the expanse of the heavens to give light on the earth, and to govern the day and the night, and to separate the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. There was evening, and there was morning, a fourth day.
All right, thank you. Verses 20 through 23. Who would do that? Willing volunteer?
Then God said, "Let the waters teem with swarms of living creatures, and let birds fly above the earth in the open expanse of the heavens." God created the great sea monsters and every living creature that moves, with which the waters swarmed after their kind, and every winged bird after its kind. And God saw that it was good. God blessed them, saying, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters in the seas, and let the birds multiply on the earth." There was evening, and there was morning, a fifth day.
So, birds and fishies, kinds of things, water creatures, came on that fifth day. And verses 24 through the end. Who would like to read that? Shall I just read that? I'll read that for you. Then God said, let the earth bring forth living creature after their kind, cattle and creeping things, beasts of the earth after their kind, and it was so. And God made beasts of the earth after their kind, and the cattle after their kind, and everything that creeps on the ground after its kind, and God saw that it was good. Then God said, let us make man in our image, remember, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, according to our likeness, and let them rule over the fish and over the sea, over the birds of the sky, and the cattle over the earth, and every creeping thing that creeps on the earth. I find it interesting that God created man the same time he created snakes. Creepy things, I don't know. Bugs. And God created man in his own image. In the image of God he created him, male and female he created them. And God blessed them, and God said to them, be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it, and rule over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the sky, over every living thing that moves on the earth. Then God said, behold, I have given you every plant yielding seed that is on the surface of the earth, every tree which has fruit yielding seed, it shall be food for you. And to every beast of earth and every bird of the sky, and to everything that moves on the earth which has life, I have given every green plant for food, and it was so. And God saw all that he made, and behold, it was very good. And there was an evening, and there was a morning, the sixth day. And then going into chapter 2, God rested. So let's do a guided meditation. And let's go back in time